Teen educator and author Dr. Mike Thompson spent 2 years traveling the country talking to teens about issues of character. From this journey comes In Search of Character, a 10-part video series highlighting 10 core virtues that help teens develop into caring, respectful, and responsible people who make choices based on what's right rather than what's easy. In this series, viewers take a fun, behind-the-scenes peek at the Dr. Mike radio show, where callers explore different aspects of character with Dr. Mike and his co-host. Listen in on the lively, thoughtful, and revealing discussions of high school students from around the country. Watch inspiring documentary profiles of young people who exemplify the power of good character in the real world. The result? Provocative and true-to-life footage that reveals the difficult decisions teens are faced with and the amazing and powerful effects that can come from making the right choices. Take a look.
So what's your question, Lee?
What can I do? I really want to go. And I don't want Jada to think I'm some kind of a wimp.
Well, what are your options?
I was thinking I could tell my parents I'm going to spend the night at my friend Dave's house. They'd let me do that.
Hey, wait a second, Lee. Didn't you start this conversation by asking how you could get your parents to trust you more?
Yeah?
Well, tell me, how is lying to them going to build trust? Your mom and dad are going to be out of the house for the weekend. They told you, listen, nobody come over for the weekend, okay? I trust you. I know you're going to take care of yourself. Now make sure nobody comes over. You're in a high school drama class. You got this person in a drama class, and boy, I tell you, whew, I mean, this is great. This is a hot person, okay? You want to rehearse a couple scenes with this person. You know that this person could come over to the house. You'd have the house all to yourself.
You invite her over, and if anything happens, you deal with it later. But at that moment, you don't have to worry about anything else. So you live
Would you invite her over?
Yeah, because you could die that night.
Oh, hey, Clarence, by the way, I got to tell you this, too. As mom and dad, guess what? We just went in the other room, and we found a sweater. And it's a girl's sweater. You don't have a sister, Clarence.
That's true.
Clarence, we told you not to have anybody in the house over the weekend. Clarence, do you want to change your story?
See, that's where more lies come in.
I was knitting.
At age 17,
What?
his parents should have be able to trust him to make his own choices.
Clarence, I'll stay with you. If I trust you as a father, is it based upon the choices I make or the choices you demonstrate?
Your trust in me is based on the choices that I demonstrate, but my trust in
Exactly.
you is based on the choices you do.
Exactly. So it goes
it's
both ways, right?
Yeah.
You tell me, but you got to trust me. You got to trust me. I will trust you. But your behavior and your choices you make outside of my vision will tell me whether or not I can trust you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Trust is probably the basis for pretty much every relationship.
Rosa is a peer counselor in the school's peer resource program. Peer counselors are students who are specially trained to help other students deal with personal problems.
Sometimes it's about parents or teachers, school grades, friends, relationships like boyfriends and girlfriends. And sometimes it's just that they want to have somebody to talk to.
Building trust seems to be a constant theme for peer counselors. This ropes course, which is part of their training, is designed to give Rosa and her fellow peer counselors an intense workout in both trusting and being trusted.
In some cases, like the trust fall, you're actually trusting them with your life, because if you fall backwards, you can't see anyone and your hands are locked in a position where you don't move and your feet are together so they're not moving either. So when you fall back, you have no choice but to completely trust the people that are catching you.
So why are we sometimes disrespectful?
A lot of us unfortunately build our respect on disrespecting others, making someone else feel bad. We feel better. And for that momentary high, we might just be disrespectful to them, even though they could be a good friend of ours or something.
A lot of times when you disrespect the people you like, it's out of selfishness, because you're more concerned about the way you're feeling, what you want, whether or not you want to talk to them or not, and a lot of times that causes disrespect.
Should we respect everyone?
Yes, I think everyone should start out.
Start out with
Okay, one at a time here.
You don't have to respect everyone, but you should treat people with respect. And I think that's a big difference, because I don't necessarily, teacher who shall remain nameless, I don't necessarily have so much respect for them, but I'm not gonna walk into their class and, stick my feet up on the desk and be like, yeah, so what are we learning today? I'm gonna act the same way that I do in a class with a teacher who I really do respect. But because they're in that position, they automatically get that respect.
We have a sort of an idea of what treating other people nicely is like. So whether it's respect or courtesy or just being civil, we know what's right, we know what's wrong.
My dean, she said, Miss Scott, I'll never forget, she said, if you don't take this opportunity now, you have a free education. If you don't take the opportunity, I didn't want to take my SATs. If you don't take your SATs, if you don't sit down and go through this college application, it'll be over for you. If I hadn't listened to my counselor and started taking responsibility for my own future, I wouldn't be in college right now. And since I want to be a doctor, this is where I need to be. It's hard though, because in addition to school, I have to work full-time to support myself. But that's okay. I love my job. I'm the executive director at a very special place called the Center for Young Women's Development. If you're going to make responsible decisions in your life, you need to be around responsible people. And so at the center, it's our goal to develop those skills within ourselves. Young women who sit around this table learn how to slowly but surely create some really strong behavioral changes in their lives. For the first time, I think in our lives, we think about college, we think about the future, we think about saving money, we think about changing our circle of friends. What we like to say, we invest in each other. And if you invest in each other, if you invest in a community, if you invest in a bank, you're gonna get something out of it. If you invest in yourself, you'll get even more out of it.
Everybody do this. Do me a favor. Take your hand and go like this. Okay? Now, point it at this guy right here. Let's point at this guy, okay? Now, point at this young lady here, Marianne over here. Yeah. You ever done this where all of a sudden you've had problems in your life and the first thing that happens you do, well, she did it. I mean, she was doing it. Everybody was doing it. And you know what? It was her fault. Well, you told me to do it. Well, why don't you get that person over there? And I used to do this all the time in my life. And then all of a sudden I figured out that I got one finger pointing out. How many fingers am I pointing back?
3.
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. Everybody repeat after me. Say, it stinks. It stinks when you find out what? You have the power, the control, and the choices. And also, you own the problem.
I'm not sure if it's just me, but right now I'm really thinking about every time you blame someone, wait, it was my fault. You just try blaming it on someone else. 'Cause you just don't want to take the blame. You feel bad. And it's so much easier because, yeah, okay, it was my fault when you point somebody, but it was actually you. So I guess it just makes,
It's a different way. Is it a different way to think?
Just goes to show you that what goes around comes around. Because when you're pointing back to you, it's like whatever you put out, whatever you do, it's gonna come back to you. So it's it goes right back to the responsibility thing. That if you're not responsible, it's gonna come back to you.
So what difference does it make what I do? Shouldn't I just look out for my own best interest and keep Allie in the part?
Well, Jill, I just have one question for you. In your heart, does that feel like the right thing to do, or does that feel like a rationalization?
Oh man, why is this so tough?
Well, if you're going to be a director, you're going to have to get used to making some tough choices.
Yeah, but like those kids said, it's an unfair world, and nothing I do is going to change that.
Hey, you couldn't be more wrong, Jill. Each of us, through our actions, contributes to making this world either more fair or less fair. I mean, the only question is whether you're willing to take responsibility for it. And if you think what you do doesn't matter, let me show you the impact one person can have by taking responsibility for making it more fair.
My question is, are all children created equal? And if child labor is wrong for a white, middle-class child in North America, then why is it any different for a girl in Thailand or a boy in Brazil? My friends and I have started an organization called Free the Children, a youth group mainly made up of young people between 10 and 16 years of age. And the purpose of our group is not only to free children from exploitation and abuse, but also to free children from the idea that they are powerless.
Giving speeches was one thing, but traveling to Asia was quite another.
We're heading in to go see a domestic servant now.
In India, Craig found this young girl working 11 hours a day, pulling apart used hospital syringes for recycling. She used to go to school, but stopped because of the poverty in her family. Craig's trip to Asia and the media attention it got triggered a bombshell of activity. Free the Children chapters sprung up everywhere as thousands of kids were drawn into this international network of children helping children.
People will sometimes look at me and say, well, you know, you're only 13 years old. And well, 13-year-olds, they don't do these type of things. As young people, we are capable of doing more than simply watching TV, playing video games, hanging around malls. There's so much more on top of this that young people can do. You know, some of you may say, well, I can't do great things. Well, Mother Teresa once said that we could do no great things. We could only do small things with great love.
You may have heard of giving trees. I mean, you see them around the holidays, and they're used to collect gifts for disadvantaged kids. If you want to give a kid a gift, you pull a tag off the tree, and each tag has a name on it. And yours says, Susie, 13, pajamas. Mom and Dad give you some money. Let's say they give you $25. You're shopping around, and all of a sudden, you're wondering. You look over here, and you see this. I mean, this is an awesome CD. And you got pajamas, and you got $25. What would you do?
Pajamas. Yeah. There's no question about that.
Katie?
No question. I'll get the pajamas. I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't even think about it.
Trisha, what do you mean?
It'd be wrong, because this person is like less fortunate, and I mean, it's a simple gift, pajamas. I mean, something we all take for granted. I don't have to have a CD, but she may have to have these pajamas. Well, I mean, not have to, but
it's for Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, go on.
This person may be homeless, but you just have a card with their name on it. You don't have this person. That Susie may be the same person you saw sitting on the street that you wouldn't give your stuff to.
What if you could find a pair of pajamas, and pajamas were on sale, they were $10. You got an extra $15. I mean, is there anybody that would have a fleeting thought go through their head of going, you can go to this all-for-one store and I get a buck pair of pajamas and got 24 in my pocket?
It's past selfish. Just like it's heartless and cruel. When this is that child's Christmas, I mean, we ask for big things. I mean, we ask for, big electronics, we want a CD player, stereo.
And I couldn't imagine asking for pajamas as my one Christmas present.
I know. But I don't think it's really a test of your caring if your parents stop and everybody picks a name and they tell you to do this. It doesn't show that you care. It just shows that you're obedient. I think the ultimate test is if you are out on your own and you spend your own money and you take the initiative to stop at that tree and pick out a name and pick out a person and give that person something. Because if you cared, you'd do it on your own.